Dexter Henry, welcome to the Sport Profile.
Dylan, thank you for having me. Love the work. Glad to be here.
Of course, we were just commiserating about the WNBA and all that chaos.
Yeah.
Before we get into the NBA chaos, that will start up in, next month?
Yeah. Knicks. I go to Knicks Media Day on Tuesday. We got preseason games right after that. Knicks are going to Abu Dhabi. I am not, just to be clear. But, NBA starts next month. That's coming
crazy.
down. We're about to approach the start of the semifinals on Sunday. Yeah, it's a busy time, man.
Yeah, I mean, you just asked me how the Liberty are going to look, and I don't know. Seems like they're going to implode. Who knows?
Man, I was in the building for Game 2 on Wednesday. What was that? Wednesday night. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
My days are all jumbled up.
Me too.
That had to be one of the worst performances I've seen for the team in the last 2 to 3 seasons. Disappointing. They just didn't have it. They couldn't make a shot. We're recording this before Game 3. I have no idea what's going to happen in Game 3. One of my editors was asking me yesterday. We're all like, the Liberty could win this. They could lose. I don't know. It's tough without the health of Stewie.
Is she going to play in Game 3?
Yeah, she's going to play.
Is that? See, I'm
She's
getting my
play.
games mixed up.
Yeah, she's going to play. She said after Game 2 that she felt like she was glad that she got to test it in Game 2 and thinks she knows what she can or can't do. But you know what's funny? I was at an event yesterday and I was talking to Sue Bird. We were just chatting about, the W and the playoffs. And she was telling me, she was like, look, the MCL sprain or strain, she was like, that is a tough injury to play through.
Sure.
She was like, trust me, tell me. She was like, it's not the worst. It's not like tearing your Achilles, which I actually have done. But she was like, listen, MCL
You've done that?
sprain or
You've
strain.
torn an Achilles?
Yeah, I tore my Achilles. How long ago was that now? It's 14 years ago now. Hooping. Partial tear. Not fun at all.
Oh, I can imagine.
So yeah, the MCL's tough, and we'll see what Stewie can do through it. And, I think fans hope that she stays healthy, but she sounded optimistic. I think the concern for me, I love this new format, the 1-1-1 that they're doing. My only concern for the women is that tough turnaround, like the women are going to have here, where they played Wednesday and then they're playing Friday with a cross country travel from New York to Phoenix. That's a lot.
Right.
So. You wish there was more days of rest, but the W is trying to get in all these games before the NBA season starts. So it's tough.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the MCL. I think I just saw a post about, I think it was from the Together account. They had oh my God, I called this the caption of the year. It was about the Fever's win. And the caption was no MCL, no ACL, no ATL.
That is good. Well done. Shout out to them. That is really, I want to know how long they were waiting on that. How long they had that in the stash for the series to be over. I want to know that. But that's a good one. I like that.
I had a 5-minute laughing fit about it.
That's good. That I would never. I love when people do stuff like that. I would
Me
never
too.
even think of that. I respect the game on it. I would never even think of that. That's
Together standing on business with that. I was like, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good one. I mean, look, the Fever. What a season.
Indiana Infirmary, baby.
Indiana Infirmary. They might not even need Caitlin Clark. Everybody out here thought, hey, this is something. I haven't looked at all the numbers, so I'm about to talk about something haven't looked at everything, but it kind of supports the theory I had at the beginning of the year. We know around the W there's been a lot of discourse and some of it toxic over the last couple of years. Yep. And there's a school of thought from some people that Caitlin Clark is the golden goose and the W needs her. And I think if you look at the games in this first round this year and how good they've been and the balance in the league, the amount of talent in the league, the parity, if you want to say, the competitiveness, how competitive the league is. I'm not saying the league isn't better with Caitlin Clark. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying they're doing fine without her on the court, is all I'm saying. They're doing just fine with no Caitlin Clark. The numbers are still good. People are watching these games. They're tuning in. People are showing up at a lot of these arenas. Yeah. So the notion again, the league is better with a talent like Caitlin Clark. I'm not saying that, but like
Absolutely.
this, the idea that like she carries the whole league in a way like is just that's something that's always never sat well with me. I
Yeah.
think it's disrespectful to the women that are talented in the league, the best players in this league, whether it's Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Alyssa Thomas, Nafisa Collier. All those women are playing here in the postseason, and three of them were MVP candidates here, and they're all
Yeah.
dope players. And yeah, man, the W is doing just great, just fine. I'm love to see it.
Me too. And I mean, the first real litmus test, with all those concerns you said, really was when she first got injured. And, we didn't know if she was going to return. Seemed like she was, then she wasn't, eventually out for the season. But like when that first injury happened and she was out for an extended period of time, the whole discourse was like, all right, here's, bubble has popped. And like that's just proven to be completely untrue.
Yeah, because the foundation of the league was rising before Caitlin Clark got there. I think there's and it's interesting socially the people that wanted to ride behind that narrative that the league needed her. And again, I want to be very clear: the league always needs talented players. Caitlin Clark is dope.
Absolutely.
The people that were willing to put her early into like she's the greatest basketball player of all time and all this other stuff. Like, I don't even think that's fair to Caitlin Clark. I don't even think Caitlin Clark wants that to be said about her. I don't even think Caitlin Clark believes that. I think she wants to be the greatest of all time. I think she's
Absolutely.
got a great shot to do that, but she's got a long way to go. I mean, we're watching one of the GOATs in their prime right now in Aja Wilson.
Yeah.
And what she's able to do. Aja Wilson is amazing. Caitlin Clark had a great rookie season. I personally was disappointed to not see her on the court as much this season because of how much
Same.
growth we saw in the second half of last season from her. But she's going to get stronger. She's going to get better. She just never was healthy this year. She wasn't shooting well even when she was healthy. The turnovers were up. She's going to get better. Look, Indiana's going to be – I think this is good for Indiana too to get deeper, postseason experience. So, yeah, it's good. But the league is fine, man. The league is doing just great.
Yeah. I'll put this on the record again. It would be the most WNBA thing ever if the Indiana Fever won the title.
Oh man, it would.
I'll put it on the record. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so either. But man, if they get to the finals, I mean, Indianapolis is going to be crazy. You just saw the Pacers go, and the Fever. That's going to be crazy. I could see it, right? Like.
Do I think it's going to happen? No.
No, I don't. But you know what? Listen, I don't think the Aces are the best matchup for them, but I can see them being competitive. Look, you don't know. You get confident. This is the beauty of sports. You just beat the Dream. They were the higher seed. You beat them on their home court to win an elimination game. Now you're taking on the Aces. They have a lot of championship experience. They've won 17 of their last 18 games. You don't know, but it would be the most. I hear you. That's the most W thing that can happen. And here's the thing: if they win, if that happens, Dylan, and they win the title without Caitlin Clark playing, I mean, it's two ways it's gonna go. The Clarkies, as I like to call them,
Clarkies.
they are going to. There's two ways they're gonna play this. Either they're gonna be like, "Hey,
I know what you're gonna say."
Without her, and they're gonna be even better next year with her. Maybe, probably, should be. Or I mean, there's gonna be some people on the other side. Is like, see, you don't even need Caitlin Clark. She's not that good. Both statements are ridiculous.
I agree.
Both statements are ridiculous.
I knew you were gonna say that.
But that discourse is gonna come if that happens. That discourse is absolutely gonna be there.
Oh my God, I knew that. I knew that's where you were going with this.
Oh man,
God, it's so painful. I don't even want to think about that. It's gonna be so.
We don't need the Clarkies. We don't need them.
And we also don't need the other folks perpetuating the other side of it, which is the Angel Reese part of the discussion and facilitating that narrative and everything that comes with that comparison. And I think that's unfair too, to both of them.
I do. I think it's
I
unfair
think
to
it's
both.
completely unfair to both of them to pit them against each other.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, first of all, Angel's the only one really talking about it. Caitlin's deflecting the narrative, and Angel's trying to just make her name heard.
Listen, this is what I'll say to all that. And if you've watched it the last couple of years, there are a lot of bad faith actors
Agreed.
around some of these narratives in the WNBA, and people want to push certain agendas and how they feel about certain things and get it all to the forefront, and it has nothing to do with the basketball. And I don't think either of those women want that. I don't think they've asked for that.
Oh, no.
And I do think they want to stand on their own merit. Like,
Hey.
people want to make it a rivalry into something that it's not. I think both are good players. I think Angel's got some growing to do in her game. I think Caitlin's got some growing to do in her game.
100%.
Neither are finished products, but these are two women I think are going to be. Angel's a tremendous rebounder. That's her best skill. Caitlin, I think her best skill is passing. People think it's the shooting. I think her passing is elite. She's got to cut down on the turnovers. She's going to get stronger. I love her competitive fire. But people got to let these players develop. Everybody wants everything now. And that goes in all sports. That just kind of annoys me. The discourse around them has annoyed me because it's taken away from basketball. And I think it's happening only from a lot of people who are really new to the WNBA, excuse me, that do not understand the league, that are shocked. Oh, my God, these women are physical. They're playing physical because they've never seen it before, as if we don't watch men play physical basketball. Yeah. I think it's a lot of bad faith actors telling a lot of people that are new to the
agree.
And I think that stuff, as long as I think it depends on the media and how we talk about the game and the truths of the game and really doing good storytelling by these players. I think a lot of that stuff goes to the wayside eventually. But I think I actually do put some of it on us in media, that it's about how we talk about it and how we don't perpetuate some of these narratives. We don't have to listen to everybody say something dumb on social media. We don't have to do that all the time. So, yeah.
You bring up an interesting point about completing the full narrative. And, kind of shifting gears a little bit, it would be an incomplete narrative to talk about your career as a journalist without bringing up the fact that you were a weather reporter.
Yeah, I did that for 3 years, man.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but Dexter Henry is the first black man to be a national anchor at AccuWeather. That what I saw? That's the title you're holding?
Yes, that is true. I was the first black national weather reporter, black male, at AccuWeather. Yes. Actually, at the time, and I think she was the first black female, was my partner here in New York, Kenneth Vernon, who's a longtime good friend of mine. We used to work together in News 12, and we worked together a lot telling stories around weather. Listen, that was an interesting time in my life. It's not even that long ago, so I talk about it like it's long ago. It was an interesting time in my life. I think it made me a better storyteller. If you would have asked me, Dylan, earlier in my career, would I have done weather reporting? I'd have been like, hell no, not doing weather reporting. But it was good. I got to tell some really important stories about weather, how they impact communities. Because a lot of times people see that, and I've talked about my career, and they're like, oh, you were a meteorologist. And I'm like, no. I was a national weather reporter. I told stories around the weather. I was
for folks who don't really know, explain the difference there. I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah, so a meteorologist is someone who studies the weather and weather patterns to be able to predict it and give you the forecast. You'll see the broadcast meteorologists, the different kinds of meteorologists. There's meteorologists you don't see. They're not just the people on TV in front of the green screen pointing to the map, right? Those are the broadcast meteorologists, and I worked with a bunch of them at AccuWeather who were extremely great at what they do and extremely talented. Then you even have meteorologists who are not on camera who just study satellites and patterns and great details about weather, that are brilliant people. As much as the broadcast meteorologists, they just don't present it to the world, but they help those other meteorologists with that data. So those are the people that did that. I was just a reporter. I was out in the field telling different stories, reporting on the weather. So if it was a hurricane, I covered multiple hurricanes. My first hurricane, this is crazy, and this probably doesn't happen for a lot of people. My first hurricane was a Category 5 hurricane. That is the strongest hurricane
you could
be in. Yeah.
Do you remember which one it was?
Yeah, it was Hurricane Michael. in 2018 that hit Panama City Beach, Florida. That also hit another area that hit directly Mexico Beach, which is a town over. And there's a third town that I'm forgetting. But I was based in Panama City Beach when it hit in the western eye wall of the storm. Arguably the craziest slash scariest thing I've ever seen in my journalism career. When people tell you about a hurricane and they say it sounds like, of that magnitude and it sounds like a train going by, they are not lying. That is absolutely true. But back to what you were asking about that. Yeah, I did that, and it was interesting because I had a goal of, I wanted to report. I remember I set this goal for myself in my 20s, and I was like, by the time I'm 35, I want to report like as a national reporter. I want to report nationally. And I did it. I think it was just before I turned 35. I did it. I didn't think it would be for weather, but I just think as a journalist, as a storyteller, it really pushed me. It really made me a better storyteller. I even got to incorporate some sports and weather stories in some series I did, so that was cool. I got to do a lot of stuff about how weathers impact underserved communities in this country. So that was good and cool. And like I worked with my producers, I worked with some great people. My teammate Kenna, there were some great people I got to work with there. I didn't love everything about the experience, but when I look back at it, how it made me better as a storyteller, that was cool. It's a pretty. Somebody said this to me, like, when people ask you, Dylan, when they're like, "What's a fun fact about yourself?" And I always get it. Like, I'm sometimes uncomfortable with that because I'm like, I don't know what to say. But like, someone said to me, "Yeah, you should tell people you were a weather reporter. That's real. You were in a Category 5 hurricane." I guess it's fun. It wasn't fun when you're in the Category 5 hurricane. That wasn't fun in the time. But it is a fun fact. So I got to start using that more. Yeah.
It is a fun fact. And don't steal my questions for the rest of the show.
Nah. My bad.
I'm messing. Trust me, they're a bit more sophisticated than name a fun fact about yourself.
Thank you. I'd like a little more sophistication. I appreciate that.
Oh my God. Get ready for our last one then. I'm so curious though. How did you get, you have always told me that sports was your direction.
Yeah.
How does weather fall into that? Or how did you fall into weather?
So, how I felt, that's a good question, because nobody really asked that question. Just they're always more impressed that I did it and didn't like ask how it comes. Some people have asked me this, but I don't think anybody that's done like a podcast asked me this. So, if I'm being 100% honest, at the time when I took that job, I was working for News 12 as a freelance reporter. I was doing sports and news for them. Mm-hmm. And I also worked at St. Francis College here, where I'm from Brooklyn, New York, as a part-time new media coordinator, doing some stuff for them. There's some other stuff I might have been doing because I've always had like 55 jobs at one time, like keeping it real Caribbean. So I've always done that. And at the time, I just become a father, and I was like, it's like 2 years in, I'd say, or so, and I was like, look, I need something full time. And I saw an opportunity, a job posting for AccuWeather, but it was to actually just be a videographer for them.
Wow.
And I interviewed for it because I also have a good background in shooting video and creating video. And so I interviewed for it. And when I interviewed, they really liked me. And they were like, hey, we see you can report too. We'd like you to do some reporting as well. And so they kind of wanted me in this hybrid role where I was helping my partner. I was working with Kenna and then doing some stuff my own, doing some reporting. So I interviewed for it. What sold me on it was the guy who was my EP for only a short period of time. His name is Tom. He sold me on the fact that, like, what'd you say?
It's always a Tom.
Always a Tom. Yeah.
If your name is Tom, you're probably in news.
Yeah, Tom was great, and Tom sold me, and he was just like, well, he told me how they wanted to tell stories, and what he said was he didn't want somebody who was just consumed by weather. He was intrigued by people who were good storytellers and knew how to tell stories in different ways and had a variety of background experience. So he liked the fact that I had done news, I had done sports, I had covered some entertainment, because he's like, you'll think of ways to bring stories together. And so that was appealing to me, because it was like, oh, okay, here's some different storytelling. He's like, we don't want to just be like you're chasing storms. He didn't want that.
Right.
And I liked his vision for that. Unfortunately, he didn't last that long as my boss because there were a whole bunch of layoffs like 2 months after I
Sure.
started. And the
Gosh.
vision changed a little bit, but that's kind of how I got into it. I was intrigued by the storytelling, and it was a good thing I did because it definitely pushed my storytelling.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad when I look back at it, I'm definitely glad I did it. I'm always glad if I did something to push myself and challenge myself. And it always reminds me to some advice that Stephen A. Smith gave me years ago,
Yeah.
early in my career, and he said to me, "Take advantage of any opportunity that you think will get you to where you want to go." And his point was everything in your career isn't always going to be linear. And I try to tell this to people I mentor now too. So
Hmm.
sometimes you have to look at it. And so I looked at it as, hey, this is an opportunity for me to report nationally, a goal I had in my career, on a level, get to travel a little bit, do things like that. I got to check all those boxes. It wasn't sports, but I still found a way to incorporate sports into it. So it
Yeah.
worked out, and then it led to what I do now, working with the New York Post and anchoring and reporting there. So it all worked out, and I think it's because I really followed that advice Stephen A. gave me. I always have that in the back of my head, and it was a good opportunity for me to learn some new skills and get a little uncomfortable. Sometimes it's good to get a little
Definitely.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, I feel like I'd also be remiss if I didn't ask this. Please give us some hurricane survival tips.
You know who's good for this? A friend of mine worked at AccuWeather, Cheryl Nelson. Shout out to Cheryl Nelson. Cheryl is great. She does a whole thing called Prepare with Share, and she literally does stuff
Okay.
with FEMA where she travels the country and talks to people about preparing for a hurricane. Well, here's the first thing I'll say. Number one, if you are told to evacuate, do that. Do not play around with hurricanes. I think a lot of times I saw this in my travels and covering storms. People would not take the warning seriously. Now, there's also sometimes some socioeconomic factors and why people can't leave,
Sure.
and I learned a lot of that through my reporting. But the one thing I said, heed the warning. Now, I will also say this, and I think this is a fair note. I found it weird, as somebody who did weather reporting for 3 years, I found it very weird that there would be these times where we, the meteorologists, the news reporters, the people at these weather stations, we tell people to evacuate these places, but then we'd be flying in.
Yeah.
There's something
You're
something
standing
weird
up.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
it's
hey
you're-
guys, don't be here, but I'm gonna be here on these streets.
Yeah, I'm
telling
gonna be
you-
on the streets, knee deep in water.
Yeah, telling you not to be here, right? Like, there's something weird about that. That I
That's
just
so
felt
true.
always. Yeah, do you need me to be here to tell you how bad it is? But that's a whole nother thing. If you are going to stay, in a hurricane, you want to try to shelter as best you can. Maybe get away from your house, get to a bigger shelter where you can be with other people, where there's maybe some more resources. You want to make sure you have resources. Look, most times when it's over a Category 3 storm, they're telling people, like, you got to get up out of here.
Yeah.
Look, just so people understand, I don't remember all the ranges for the categories, but I
Sure.
do remember Category 5 storms are anywhere, I think, above 147 mile per hour winds. I will also tell people I've been in a Category 1 storm in Outer Banks, and that's Category 1, if I remember correctly, is anywhere between 90 to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And that sounds like, that's still a crazy force. Like, that's still a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's still
It's
a
not
lot.
nothing.
I think it's heed. My best advice is you got to heed the warnings. You want to stay away from areas where there's a lot of water. The broadcast meteorologists will always say, turn around, don't drown. Do not go into areas of water and think you can
Yep.
walk through it. Because
Meanwhile, you're gonna stand knee
right,
deep.
you could be walking in a spot and not know where the level is, and it drops under, and then you're in a tough situation that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen crazy flooding and people walking through it, and you don't want to do that if you don't have to.
Right.
Yeah, staying safe is heeding the warning. Stock up on supplies if you have to stay. Get to a place of shelter. That's better. If you can get into a bigger building, that's also better for you, especially if the winds are higher. Hurricanes are no joke, man. Hurricanes are no joke. And you want to take those warnings seriously. And if they say leave to evacuate town, city officials are telling you that.
Yeah.
Seriously, take that seriously.
Well, listen, let's talk what's more your wheelhouse, which is sports, because I've been fascinated by, first of all the content you're doing. I think it's so unique. I loved your segment with Brian the other day about how you integrated the Knicks minutes in
Yeah.
2K down to like you allocated everybody down.
We
to
did
the
all the
minute.
240 minutes. Yeah, we
I
did. We
know,
did it.
and that's hard. That's hard to do.
Yeah, which was fun to do because last year around the Knicks, who I cover and do a show on New York Game, there was so much talk about the minutes, especially with Tom Thibodeau, and I think
Yeah.
people don't recognize how hard it is to distribute minutes with a roster.
I mean,
I know you
didn't
watched
do
it.
it.
We were struggling at times.
Yeah,
Like,
but
oh,
like
what-
Tom Thibodeau didn't do it. He did
fair.
not.
That is fair. I love. Also, to be fair to Tibbs, last year I think there was room where he could have done it more.
Of course there was.
I know Mike Brown is going to have a deeper bench than him this year.
Yes.
But I also felt like Tom Thibodeau could have given more room for young guys to get chances
agree.
at times, and I think you'll see that more this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not reporting or know that for sure. I just the way Mike Brown operates, I think they'll definitely go 9 deep. Maybe they go 10 deep. But I think it was fun. It was fun to do. It was a fun video, and it's been really well watched and really well received. And shout out to my producers, because they had the idea of using 2K and to show interactively how the minutes could look. But we had a lot of fun with it. But I think, like you said, we realized how hard it is.
It is tough. It's tough.
Because even as we were doing stuff, we were like, because we didn't like do some super prep and planning for this. Like we had certain ideas, but we were doing this in real time, and then we were like, okay, we didn't give this guy minutes, or could we shave this off here? So
Yeah. Knicks
not
your team in
easy,
2K?
man. Minutes police. You got to understand, it's not easy.
Knicks are your team in 2K?
What'd you say?
Are the Knicks your team in 2K?
Yeah. I'll play with the Knicks. I kind of always play with I grew up rooting as a Knicks fan.
Same.
I'll play, or it's funny. My other team in 2K for a long time was Dallas because I'm a big Luka Doncic fan. Now he's with the Lakers. I don't know if I'll play with him so much, but I rock with the Knicks in 2K. When I have time to play 2K, I will rock with the Knicks.
For sure. Yeah. Something I'm also curious about, in your kind of role, is how you formulate your stories. Is it, more self-ideation? Do you have people kind of pitching you stories? I know you're very tied in with a lot of folks throughout the league, the various leagues. I'm curious, like where's your ideation coming from? I know, as a professional journalist, PR folks are pitching people all over the place. I'm curious, like how are you formulating your stories on a day-to-day basis?
For me, a lot, especially as someone who hosts a couple shows, for me a lot of it is really watching. Well, it's like I'll take my Knicks show, my Met show, Liberty show. I'll take all those things, right? And the content.
Shout out Maddie Kenny, by the way. Love the
shout
Liberty show.
Shout out to Maddie, my co-host on Liberty lately,
and a Sport Profile alum.
Yes, that's right, Sport Profile alum, and is a fantastic journalist who I've had a lot of fun doing that show with her. We've only done, I think, 5 or 6 episodes, but I've had so much fun doing that show with her and being able to talk women's hoops.
Also, love that we're all in agreement that chocolate is.
Yes.
Hey, candy.
And you know what? So I think for me, Dylan, when it comes to formulating
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to say that.
No, you're good. When it comes to formulating stories and topic ideas for shows, it's really paying attention to what is being talked about. So for us at the New York Post, we look at a lot of I look at what are the articles that are trending for us, the topics that our columnists, our reporters are writing on. How am I incorporating those topics into my shows? What are fans talking about on social media? I watch a lot of that. What are the fans talking about? And I always try to approach, whether it's me doing a report or it's me doing an interview or doing something for my shows, because I'm a fan first. I don't like when journalists or sports journalists try to act like they're not fans. We love this.
Me too.
We love sports. Yeah, and so I try to think about what fans want to know. That's always my first thing. What do the fans want to know? If they're watching this episode, what are they going to get out of it? And then the second thing for me is, how do you have a fun and engaging discussion? We talked about some of it is ideas from other people. Sometimes it's my producers. So the minutes idea, shout out to one of my producers, Tommy Hogan. Another Tom. He came up with the idea of, we talked about the starting lineup, and he was like, "Yo, what if we do something about the minutes and you use 2K?" And Tommy really likes to try to push me to do a lot of things that are interactive. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that because I might have had that discussion, but I don't know if we'd have had it in that interactive way if it wasn't for his
And it's so
suggestion.
relatable too. Like everybody
Yeah.
plays 2K.
Everybody plays 2K, right? And you understand it. You've gone in and set your team's minutes for your season or
Yeah.
whatever. And so that I think is relatable. It's also good for people to see. It's also a great discussion. Fans are talking about it anyways. So I think
Mhm.
that's a great example of like sometimes it'll be me, sometimes I'll have ideas, sometimes you'll get inspired by something else. I did a Knicks throughout the end of the summer. I did a Knicks top 25 Knicks of the last 25 years, and
Yeah.
my inspiration for that came from um, a bunch of people were doing this summer, but Bomani Jones was doing it on the right time with his top 25 athletes of the last 25 years, and I thought I said, "Yo, I should do something with the Knicks." And so the day I dropped it, the first set part of it, I noticed Knicks Film School. Shout out to my guys there, Jonathan Macri
Mm.
and company. They dropped it too, and so I texted J Mac
No
and I was like,
way.
"Yo, we did." And so they had also. I was talking to him about it, him and his producer Andrew Claudio, and they had gotten inspiration from a couple other places. The Ringer did it, so we all take inspiration from other people. But I just think it's about how do you put your own unique style and spin on it. So for me, a lot of it is reading, a lot of it is watching social media, and then talking with my producers sometimes about different ideas. I think one of the
Yeah.
things that people who work with me know is that I'm not afraid to like, let's try something new. That's the thing I love about working in the digital space. We don't have to be married to anything. We could try something. If it works, it's cool. Maybe the 2K idea would have flopped. Maybe nobody would have watched. But we would have tried something else. And we
Right.
want to try new things that are different that allow the fans to be part of the discussion. So I'm always thinking about those things and then collaborating with the people I work with. And yeah, so that's kind of the way I approach it.
More from a career, I guess, standpoint. You said something that has still resonated with me and will for a very long time. But you said you got a piece of advice from somebody, and it was, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And first of all, I just to tell you, I appreciated that a lot as somebody
Yeah.
who has been through a lot early on in my career and had a lot of change. But how have you embodied that over the course of your career? And from a career, I guess answer that from a career standpoint, but also a personal standpoint as your overall, from your overall life perspective.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Excuse me. Um, I don't think I always had that mindset. I think it's a mindset. It comes from empowerment, other people empowering you and telling you that you can do that. I think I was always raised to do that. But of course, anything in your life, you're going to find obstacles, roadblocks. There are going to be people who literally tell you no. And
Yeah.
I've had that happen in my career. But I think where I really, really and truly understood it career wise, and then how it also, I would say, affected me personally, was very early in my career. And I've spoken about this before. I worked at some places where, I wanted to get opportunities to do stuff on camera. And they weren't giving me those opportunities. But I saw those opportunities going to other people. And I didn't
Did they
like
say
it. I
why?
didn't think, no, never said why. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was fair. I'd asked for opportunities. I thought I wasn't even given a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was then told by other people around me was like, well, why aren't you doing your own thing? And the reason I said that to you the time we spoke, and I say this to a lot of people, is there's something powerful about creating your own content. This is why
Yeah.
I encourage so many young content creators, journalists, whatever, to create their own content. The best thing I ever did in my career and why I'm able to pass that to you was I started my own YouTube channel, production company, Backpack Broadcasting.
I
And so I was
saw.
like, okay, you guys are not going to give me these opportunities. I'm going to create my own. So I
Yeah.
I was working for this company, and the company no longer exists, but I was working for this company and I was doing games for them and, recording stuff and doing stuff for reporters and shooting. And I started keeping stuff for myself and doing my own reports and putting it on my channel. The funny thing is the same company that denied me opportunities one day came across the YouTube channel,
Oh.
and my boss hits me up and he's like, "What is this?" Question mark, and post the link to the YouTube channel. And listen, I could be a little bit, I don't say a jerk, but if you ask me
Please,
what
please tell me
if
you were a jerk.
I
to him.
was. If you ask me what Yeah, if you ask me what I
Jeez.
deem to be a dumb question, I'm gonna give you back a little bit of sass. Let's just put it like that, right?
Good.
And so I literally wrote back to him and was like, "Yeah, this is my YouTube channel," and then I explained what the YouTube channel was and was for, and I also said because I knew he was going to ask me why you're doing this, and I said, "Well, I did it because you guys wouldn't give me the opportunities that I asked for, so I've always been raised to."
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I've always been raised to if you're not going to give me the opportunities, that you got to go create your own. You got to take it yourself.
Good answer.
That answer didn't go over so well.
I'm sure it didn't, but I'm sure it made you feel good.
Yeah, and it made me feel good, and I still will stand. I'm glad I said that answer because I'm glad I said it because sometimes when I tell people that story, they're like, "Wow, you said that." I was 25, maybe 26 years old, and they were like, "You said that? Like you didn't think you were gonna get fired or whatever?" And I was like, "I could have." Now here's what happened. They
Oh,
told
you
me,
did this while you were still there.
"Oh yeah, I was still working." Yeah,
Oh, I missed
oh,
that
yeah.
part.
Yeah. Sorry if I buried that. Yeah, I was still there. So they said to me, "You can either keep doing this, or you're gonna be out of a job." Now I had just moved into just moved out of my parents' house, just moved into a new apartment. So now all this stuff. So I'm like, man, I got to quit this. And I'm so glad you asked this question. I haven't told this story. I haven't told this story with this much detail. Publicly.
Well,
I've
thank
told
you.
little. It's now been so long. I like what I
Sure.
would tell it. And so I was mad. I remember at that point, feeling. I don't like the feeling of somebody telling me what I could or couldn't do. Now we all have bosses to answer to. We all have
Yeah.
things we have to do, and I had to make a decision because I had to eat and keep paying my rent and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to do this stuff anymore. But they thought it was a conflict of interest that I was doing stuff on the job, and I said to them, "Hey, it's not taking away from anything I'd send for you. I'm just doing extra work for myself on the side. This isn't affecting my work in any way," because they couldn't do it, but they didn't want me to do it. So what I then decided to pivot to was one day my girlfriend at the time, is now my wife, was like, "Yo, you have a background before that in covering high school basketball in New York City. Why aren't you? They told you not to do the stuff that you're doing. Why don't you just use your gear, go cover high school basketball in New York City?" So I started doing that. Now, I was using their gear, to be honest. And when they realized that I pivoted to just doing that, they then made up a reason to tell me, because I used to take the gear home. This company was based in Jersey. They were like,
Yeah.
"No, you got to bring the gear back to us every day," because they were trying to stop me from doing this. Yeah, even though I no longer was doing anything with any pro teams. So that was a moment where I was like, okay, I have to buy my own gear. So there was somebody I knew. Shout out to my guy, Michael Artis, helped me. Actually, got to give him a phone call. Helped me, connected me to somebody. I bought a camera, got myself some editing software, started covering high school basketball in the Brooklyn area because I had a lot of contacts with coaches.
Right.
And just to fast forward through this and why the point I'm making, you know what happened, Dylan? Well, I was doing a lot of high school basketball coverage in Brooklyn, and I'd always wanted to work for News 12 Brooklyn. And I became really cool with a lot of the guys that were the reporters that worked at News 12.
Sure.
And what was happening was, because this is about, to give everybody a time, this is 2010, 2011. So we're 5 years into YouTube. This is the start of Twitter. This is the beginning of Twitter. So it's this time where you're able to push your content out on social media. I was going to these games, and I would go home and I'd edit these pieces and put it out there on YouTube. And I was beating News 12 because people used to have to wait till 9:30 or 10 o'clock to see the highlights. But I was getting the highlights up by like 8 o'clock. And I was seeing, and at first, this is the point I would like to make too. I'm sorry for being so long-winded on this,
No,
but I think
please.
people will enjoy this.
Yeah.
When I decided to do this, it was solely for me to get better as a on-camera talent, as a broadcast journalist. All I wanted to do was get better at my craft. Hopefully that somebody saw it, and it could lead to some more opportunities. Because I was like, I could do what other people are doing here.
I feel the
But
same
that's
way
what
about what I'm
happened.
doing with this.
I was beating those guys at their own game. And eventually what happened was the sports director there saw that. He saw I did stuff on camera and was like, yo, why don't you come work for us? And yeah, it's funny. I had applied for a job there. I was a finalist for an anchor reporter position. I didn't get it. That was in 2013. The next, and he told me they loved me as a finalist. They said if something opened up freelance, they would contact me.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pat O'Keefe. He was a longtime sports director at News 12 Brooklyn in the Bronx. People may know that name. He also does pre and post game for the Knicks radio. People may know him from that. So yeah, he does that. Great person who gave me opportunity, great mentor. And the next year, I remember it was almost maybe a year later, I was walking out of a movie theater and he called me. It was like, hey, you ready to come work for us? We have a freelance spot open for you.
Wow.
And yeah, and so I tell that and all that to say, this is why I say you can do whatever you want to do. Because some people will close doors doesn't mean you should stop. And thanks to the good people I have in my life, like my wife who pushed me to do that, I give her a lot of credit. One of my cousins, shout out to my cousin Makeda, she was telling me to do my own thing and create my own content. I wouldn't have done those. Also, one of my mentors from college, Jamoke Davis. Without those people, I would not have done that.
Right.
And you need people sometimes to tell you, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to be limited by this. And I didn't limit myself, and it's it is literally the best thing I've ever done in my career.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'd be talking to you now with the things that I have been blessed to do if I had not made that move to start Backpack Broadcasting. I'm very confident in that.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, everything you just said just completely resonated with me. It's first of all, it's also so incredibly relatable. Like, I mean, people know I was laid off from Sportico. I'm not shy about that. But, and also this podcast was, dormant for 5 years. And, when I decided to restart it, I was just like, I have this thing sitting here. Like, I just wanted to, and I told this to you as well. I just wanted to do what I know how to do again. I just wanted to do what I know how to do. And I think I'm doing that.
You are. You're having good conversations with people. You and I talked about this off camera and just how you've elevated and grown in your conversational style since then and what that's going to do for you. And I think that's the best thing about doing your own content. I think sometimes people get lost in that, I have to do this or I got to get this many views. It's you got to love the journey and the growth of it. That's the best thing, because there were a lot of days I was doing videos and there weren't that many views. But I think what always impressed me, and I didn't realize it quickly, I remember, I'll just share a quick story. During that time I was telling you, when I started doing the high school basketball, I remember this one day, and I went to this game, and it was a high school game. I was at Thomas Jefferson High School in Brooklyn. I remember this kid comes up to me, young kid, like he might have been older than 10, and he was like, yo, and this is specific about, I should say, I remember I didn't have a website. I don't even think I had a logo that I made yet for Backpack Broadcasting. But this kid came up to me. He was like, yo, man, what's up, Backpack? And I was like,
what's up, Backpack?
Yeah, he called me Backpack. He was like, yo, what's up, Backpack? And I was like, at first, like, he caught me off guard. And I was like, what? And he's like, yo, man, I watch all your videos on YouTube. Like, I love what you're doing. And like, that was a moment where I was like, oh, people are watching this in a way that I didn't even know. Like, younger audiences of that, who obviously were more tapped into YouTube. I didn't realize what the reach was. Yeah, he called me Backpack. And so it started happening. I would go to games and people would be like, yo, Backpack. And I realized how it was growing. And I don't think I thought. Yeah, it was really quick too. Social media had a huge part of that.
Sure.
The accessibility of YouTube. People were like, oh, this is the guy that comes to the big games and will do a report and has these interviews with these players, and they were following me. And like players were following me and giving me love, whether it was, Lance Stevenson, Ethan Telfair. There's some guys that really helped a lot with my career. Isaiah Whitehead. So it was crazy how that works.
Sure.
And I think I saw the power of that direct relationship you can have with people. That's kind of dope about social media. There's things that are toxic about social media too.
Of course.
But yeah, I saw that quickly, and I was like, oh, this is the power. If you do your own content, you can reach the audience you want to reach in the way you want to.
I agree. Well, listen, I'm gonna ask that last question that I do ask everybody, and that is Dexter Henry. Just professionalism aside, your work, your career aside, just you as a person. What do you like most or admire about yourself?
Damn, that's a good question. What I like most and admire about myself is my patience and resilience. I would say probably more so the resilience. Um, I I do believe this. Everybody's not built for everything,
Yeah.
but what I learned early is I've learned a lot how to deal with it. And now I think about there's probably something I should have shared, but there's a perspective I have from being young.
Please.
All right, so I'll share this real quick. I This is a fun fact about me too. I am the so back in the day in New York, they used to do something called the storytelling competition.
Okay.
And in 1996, I can't remember if it was 96 or 97. I think it's 96.
Good sports.
I was the Brooklyn storytelling champ.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, which is hilarious, which is almost hilarious because you're like, if you would have asked me in 1996 or 1997, as a storytelling champ, would you be a storyteller? Would you be a journalist? And you'd be like, yeah, Dexter always wanted to be a journalist. That's actually not what I wanted to do then. I thought I was going to be a doctor. That is not what I wanted to do.
Doctor.
I know. Yeah. Dr. Dex. I thought
We
that was
got
going to
a
happen.
doctor. We got a weatherman. Only one of them was actually turned out to be true.
Yeah, I know.
Unless you have some secret life in medicine, but
Nah, no secret life
Wow.
in medicine, man. No, and I'm telling this because I became the champ when I was at my middle school, Philippa Schuyler Middle School, one of the best schools in Brooklyn. And prior to that, in elementary school, I had done the storytelling competition in my old district, District 18. And there were years I worked at it. And what you had to do, just let people know, you had to tell a story. You had to memorize a story and tell it in front of a group of judges. And you had to like really tell it with like emotion and feeling and really display it really well.
oh goodness,
Almost, yeah. And so I did this. I competed in, I think it was from second grade to fifth grade. I did it 3 years.
yeah,
And there were some days I did it where I felt like I performed amazingly well.
sure,
But I lost. I don't think I ever finished higher than fifth in one of these district competitions. I would always win in my school. And then when
Yeah.
I went to the district, I lost. So I get to sixth grade at Philippa Schuyler Middle School. And one of my most important teachers in my life, Mrs. Hyde, shout out to Mrs. Hyde. In our English class, they have the storytelling competition. And I do it. And I win it for the class. She pulls me aside and says, hey, you need to do the storytelling competition for school. She was like, have you done this before? So yeah, I did it in my old school. She was like, you could do this. And she said this to me. I believe you could win. And I believe you could win not this school. I believe you could be our first winner ever in the district. And I believe you could win the whole
Wow.
thing. And I was like, yeah, you hear that? And I'm like, okay. So I do the school competition.
oh shit, he's nice.
I do a school competition. And I'm a sixth grader. My freshman year, I'm going up against seventh graders, eighth graders. I win. The librarian who ran the competition says to me the same thing.
The district.
You're really good. Like you're really good at public speaking and speaking. You can do this. It's funny to hear all those things then. I should have applied it and be like, yo, I could do what I do now. But I wasn't really applying that. I went to the district, crushed that. I win. I go to, after the district, you then compete against all the best people from the district in Brooklyn. You then go for the borough championship. I won the borough championship. So now I was literally the best storyteller in Brooklyn at the age of 11 and have done that, which is a cool fun fact.
Oh my
I
god.
I lost in the city title. I think I came in fifth. I lost in the city title. Tons of good people in there.
So the borough
But-
title is that the 5 boroughs?
So the borough title was just I won the Brooklyn title. So
Okay.
then you went
Oh,
up
got it,
against
got it.
So then they put you up against someone from Staten Island, someone from Manhattan, someone from the Bronx, someone from
Yeah.
Queens, all in your I think you did it by I don't remember if it was by grade, but I think it was just one representative of each.
Right.
And so I didn't fare well in the finals to win the city title and become the city storytelling champion.
Yep.
I didn't do that, but the reason I tell that story is And I remember my mom is such a huge part of this, and all the teachers. I said, my mom who worked with me every night and on it. I had resilience. I remember being frustrated about losing, but I never gave up on it. And I was so proud of that Brooklyn championship. It's funny, I still have the trophy outside. And it's one of the things I'm more proud of. I probably need to put it back up here. I have my Telly Award trophy behind me, but
do it.
I think that taught me a lot in life, because I think if I didn't have that experience, I don't think I would have been able to tell you the other story I told you about starting Backpack Broadcasting when someone told me no, when something didn't go my way. I think because I've always known, I know what it's like to lose. I know what it's like to push through. I know what it's like to appreciate the journey. So yeah, I think the thing I like the most about myself is I'm resilient. Doesn't mean I don't get down. Of course, we all feel down. I always have a moment. But I don't stay in that space too long, because I believe I will rise. I believe I'm confident in myself. I would say my confidence is tied into that too. I'm confident in myself.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm going to set out what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, resilience. That's a long way of saying I think resilience is the dopest thing about me that I like.
That's amazing. Man, I love that so much. That it's just so relatable, so pure. What a story. Dude, it's so great to talk to you. You know, I'm super happy we were able to have this conversation, and thanks so much for coming on. I'm so excited to see all your coverage from, the rest of the W and, into the NBA.
Thank you, man. And I'll tell you what, if the Indiana Fever win the WNBA title, I'm going to think of you, because I heard it from you first. If they win the WNBA title.
Not happening.
I hope not, man. I hope not. It's going to be too much madness with it.
There's no shot.
I hope not, but I just want to say I appreciate you, man, and keep having the conversations you're having with a lot of great people. I'll come back on any other time. Thank you, Dylan.
This episode is brought to you by Digital Sport by Hot Paper Lantern, a division of the PR, brand, and marketing agency Hot Paper Lantern. Digital Sport by Hot Paper Lantern helps brands grow at the intersection of sports, tech, and gaming. Learn more at hpldigitalsport.com or find them on LinkedIn at Digital Sport by Hot Paper Lantern.